Bird World, birds of Switzerland, where snow-capped peaks meet emerald lakes, and even the air feels like it was made for wings. But here's the question. How can such a small country hide so many rare and beautiful birds? Stay till the end, because the answer isn't what you'd expect. In Switzerland, beauty isn't just in the mountains. It's in motion. The common crane glides like a moving shadow across alpine valleys. The mute swan turns mirror lakes into poetry, and the European bee-eater brings summer to life with every flash of color. From quiet forests where owls whisper ancient secrets, to high meadows where lapwings dance in the wind, this land is more than chocolate and clocks. It's a symphony written in feathers. And sure, some birds here sing for joy, some for love, and a few, like the red-backed shrike, just for the thrill of the hunt. So buckle up, because once we take off over the Alps, you'll see why Switzerland isn't just beautiful from the ground. It's breathtaking from the sky. If grace had wings, this bird would already be president. Meet the common crane, Switzerland's sky dancer and the living definition of elegance with attitude. Every autumn, when the chill rolls down from the Alps, these birds gather in the thousands. Long necks, wide wings, voices like trumpets echoing across the valleys. It's not just migration, it's choreography. Each V formation looks like a moving arrow cutting through clouds, and somehow every bird knows its place without anyone yelling directions. Try getting humans to do that. Good luck. But here's a fun twist. Cranes mate for life. They don't swipe, they select. And before pairing up, they perform a dance. Hopping, bowing, flapping, tossing grass into the air. A full Broadway show just to say, hey, you seem nice. Once they bond, that's it. Till death, or at least bad weather, do them part. You'll find them nesting in Swiss wetlands and alpine meadows, moving like royalty through the reeds. Their call, that deep rolling crow, can travel for miles. It's less a song, more a public announcement. The cranes have arrived. Please look impressed. Here's your mini debate. Is it loyalty or just good PR? Because these couples are inseparable, but they also spend half the year yelling at each other mid-flight. You ever seen a crane argument? It's loud, dramatic, and somehow still elegant. Fun fact, ancient Europeans saw cranes as symbols of vigilance and wisdom. Farmers believed if a crane flew low, rain was coming. If it flew high, expect sunshine. Basically, they were the original weather apps, except with better posture. And yet, despite centuries of symbolism, the common crane remains one of nature's purest mysteries, a mix of instinct, devotion, and showmanship. They travel thousands of miles and still land back in the same valley, the same marsh, the same patch of sky, year after year like clockwork made of feathers. So what do you think? Are cranes the eternal romantics of the Alps, or just overachievers with GPS built into their hearts? Either way, if love could fly, it would probably sound exactly like this. If the common crane is the dancer of the Alps, then the mute swan is the diva. Beautiful, silent, and fully aware of both. Gliding across Switzerland's mirror-still lakes, this bird doesn't swim. It floats like it's allergic to effort. Neck curved into a perfect S, white feathers glowing in the morning mist. And let's be honest, it knows it's stunning. You've seen them, elegant, calm, romantic. But here's the truth. Swans are terrifying. They're the angels of the lake until you get too close. Then suddenly you're in a slow-motion chase scene from a wildlife horror movie. They'll hiss, flap, and charge with all the fury of a creature that's been fed too much bread and not enough respect. Fun fact, despite the name, the mute swan isn't actually mute. They grunt, snort, and hiss constantly. It's just that everyone's too enchanted by their looks to notice the attitude problem. In medieval Europe, only royalty could own swans, which feels about right. They're basically feathered aristocrats who never got the memo that monarchy's over. But beneath the glamour and sass, there's something truly remarkable. Swans mate for life, and when one partner dies, The other often stays alone for the rest of its days. That's not drama, that's devotion. And yes, somewhere out there is a swan couple who's been together longer than your favorite celebrity marriage. Watch them take off, their huge wings slapping the water in rhythmic bursts, and you can hear power meeting poetry. Once airborne, they glide low and long, like they're tracing the outline of the Alps themselves. So here's your mini debate. Are swans the ultimate symbol of love and grace, or just runway models with anger issues? Because let's face it, they'll pose for your photo, then attack your kayak 5 seconds later. Either way, the mute swan proves something simple. Beauty may be silent, but it sure knows how to make a scene. If the mute swan is Switzerland's lakeside queen, then the white stork is its folk hero. A bird so famous, it's literally been blamed for bringing babies. You've heard the story, right? Storks deliver newborns wrapped in cloth. Cute, yes. But let's be honest, that bird's carrying capacity maxes out at one frog and half a sandwich. The myth started in Europe centuries ago, and somehow the stork never corrected anyone. Smart move, free marketing. In Switzerland, storks are a symbol of good luck and new beginnings. When spring arrives, they return from Africa, gliding over villages and farmland like feathery messengers of hope. People look up, point, and say, "Ah, the storks are back. It's going to be a good year." And you can't blame them. Watching a white stork soar across the Alps is magic. They ride thermals so effortlessly, it feels like the wind itself was invented for them. No flapping, no rush, just perfect balance. If Zen had feathers, it would look like this. Fun fact, storks are extremely loyal to their nests. Every year they return to the same rooftop or chimney, sometimes for decades. There are families in Switzerland who've watched the same pair raise chicks for generations. Talk about dependable neighbors. No noise complaints, just a little extra poop on the roof. But here's where it gets interesting. Storks mate for life, but they migrate separately every winter, thousands of miles apart, then somehow find each other again in spring. No phone calls, no texts, no "where are you" messages. They just know. Now that's trust, or maybe it's better boundaries than most humans ever manage. So what do you think? Are white storks truly symbols of faith and family, or just the best long-distance relationship experts in bird world? Either way, when one lands on a Swiss rooftop, you can't help but feel that maybe, just maybe, luck really does have wings. If the white stork brings new life, then the common kestrel makes sure that life stays interesting. This bird doesn't wait for luck. It creates it, mid-air, in real time. You've seen them, even if you didn't realize it, that small hawk hovering perfectly still against the wind, wings beating just fast enough to defy gravity. It looks impossible, like someone hit the pause button on nature. Meanwhile below, a clueless mouse is having its worst day ever. That's the kestrel's superpower, flight control. It can hover in one spot for over a minute, scanning the ground with laser focus before diving like a guided missile. And it's not luck, it's physics. Tiny feathers on its wings help it adjust to microgusts of wind, so it can literally balance in midair. If Tony Stark were a bird, he'd build this thing in red. Fun fact, kestrels can see ultraviolet light. To them, rodent urine glows like neon paint on a dark field. Yeah, they follow mouse pee trails to find dinner. Nature's beauty meets questionable hygiene. They're common across Switzerland, from the Alps to the farmlands, perching on church steeples and fences like miniature sentinels. Farmers love them because they keep rodent populations in check. Eco-friendly pest control with wings and attitude. And yet, for all their dead serious precision, they're ridiculously small, barely a pound in weight. It's like watching a tiny sports car outfly cargo planes. Sometimes size isn't a disadvantage. It's an excuse to be faster, sharper, and way cooler. Here's your mini debate. Are kestrels fearless hunters, or just tiny adrenaline junkies chasing snacks and glory? Because honestly, half the time they look like they're doing it for fun. When you see one hovering above a Swiss valley, sunlight flashing off its russet wings, you can feel the entire scene freeze. A perfect moment of grace, precision, and danger. So what do you think? Is the common kestrel nature's ultimate daredevil, or just proof that confidence really does make you fly higher? Either way, in bird world, nobody pulls off a midair flex quite like this. If the common kestrel is the day's sharpest hunter, then the Eurasian eagle owl rules the night. A silent monarch with eyes that could melt steel and a voice that could wake the dead. When the sun dips behind the Alps, this bird clocks in, wings wide as a man's arms, orange eyes glowing like tiny lanterns. It's not flying through the forest, it's haunting it. You don't see an eagle owl, you feel it. A low hoo-hoo rolls through the valley, and suddenly every mouse, fox, and midnight hiker gets religious. It's massive, the biggest owl in Europe. It can take down rabbits, ducks, even other birds of prey. Basically, it's the heavyweight champion of the alpine night. And get this, its feathers are built for silence. Each one has tiny fringes that muffle the sound of air. So when it swoops in, it's not a flight, it's a ghost attack. You don't even hear the wings until it's already too late. Fun fact, the eagle owl isn't afraid of humans. In fact, it sometimes nests in abandoned quarries or near villages, as if it enjoys watching people wonder if they're being followed. And honestly, it probably is. This bird has patience, the kind that makes statues nervous. But for all that power, it's a surprisingly devoted parent. Both mom and dad guard the nest fiercely, taking shifts through wind, snow, and midnight storms. Imagine trying to explain to an eagle owl that you just want a selfie. Good luck with that. Here's your mini debate. Are these birds terrifying predators or the forest's quiet protectors? Because sure, they're scary, but every night they keep the ecosystem in balance, controlling pests, restoring silence, and reminding us that darkness isn't empty, it's alive. So what do you think? Is the Eurasian eagle owl a monster in feathers or the guardian of the alpine night? Either way, one thing's for sure. When it looks at you with those orange eyes, you stop being the top of the food chain and start feeling like dinner with shoes. After the thunder and power of the eagle owl, let's dim the lights a little, because now we're entering the quieter side of the night. Meet the tawny owl, the storyteller of Switzerland's forests, the one who doesn't hunt for fame, just for peace and the occasional mouse. Its call is haunting, that classic hoo 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 you've heard in every movie ever set in a forest. It's soft, almost musical, the kind of sound that makes you want to grab a blanket and a cup of tea. But don't let the cozy vibes fool you. This little owl runs the night shift with precision. Round face, dark eyes, warm brown feathers. The tawny owl looks like it was carved right out of tree bark. You can walk under one and never notice it's there. And when it finally turns its head and stares at you, you realize the forest has been watching you the whole time. Unlike its giant cousin, it doesn't soar over mountains. It glides silently through woodlands, staying close to home, guarding its patch of trees like a gentle landlord. But when something crosses that line, oh, the claws come out fast. It's the definition of quiet until provoked. Fun fact, these owls form lifelong bonds, and pairs often call to each other all night like a whispered conversation. To humans, it sounds romantic. To nearby mice, it's probably the soundtrack of nightmares. Here's your mini debate. Is the tawny owl wise or just incredibly good at sitting still and pretending it knows things? Because honestly, that calm stare could either mean deep philosophical thought or absolutely nothing going on upstairs. We'll never know, and maybe that's the point. Still, there's something peaceful about them. In a world that never stops shouting, the tawny owl whispers, and the forest listens. So what do you think? Is this bird a philosopher of the pines, or just a sleepy introvert who got a great PR team? Either way, it reminds us that silence isn't empty. Sometimes it's just wise enough to wait. If the tawny owl is the wise old storyteller of Switzerland's woods, then the Eurasian jay is that loud, mischievous neighbor who keeps the forest interesting. Smart, flashy, and way too confident for its size. This bird doesn't just live in the woods. It runs the gossip department. You'll spot it darting between trees, pinkish brown body flashing those brilliant blue and black wing bars like badges of mischief. It's not shy. It'll screech, mimic, steal, and sometimes do all three before breakfast. That raspy rack call. Yeah, that's the forest's version of breaking news. But don't underestimate the chaos. There's genius behind it. The Eurasian jay is one of the smartest birds in Europe. It can remember hundreds of acorn hiding spots, plan ahead, and even pretend to hide food while secretly stashing it elsewhere, just to trick other birds. You're not watching wildlife, you're watching strategy. Honestly, this thing could run Wall Street. Fun fact, jays are also the forest gardeners. All those forgotten acorns, they turn into new oak trees. So every time a jay forgets a snack, a future forest grows. Accidental hero or environmental mastermind? You decide. They're also talented mimics. Farmers in Switzerland have heard them copy dogs, cats, even human laughter. Sometimes to scare off predators, sometimes probably just for the fun of it. It's like nature's stand-up comedian with feathers. Here's your mini debate. Are they clever conservationists or noisy pranksters with no volume control? Because sure, they plant trees, but they also yell loud enough to make coffee spill in villages half a mile away. Still, there's no denying the Eurasian jay gives the forest personality. Without it, the woods would be too quiet, too serious, too Swiss maybe. So what do you think? Is this bird the forest's genius entrepreneur? Or just a feathered drama queen with ADHD? Either way, one thing's for sure. If intelligence had a sound, it would probably sound like a jay laughing at you from the trees. If the Eurasian jay is the forest's loudmouth genius, then the magpie is its smooth-talking con artist, the kind of bird that could steal your wallet, charm you into thanking it, and still look fabulous doing it. Let's start with the obvious, that tuxedo look. Glossy black and white plumage, iridescent blue wings, and that cocky little strut that says, "Yeah, I know I look good." It's not camouflage, it's fashion. The magpie doesn't hide. It owns the spotlight. But what really makes this bird legendary? Its obsession with shiny things. Coins, keys, jewelry, foil. If it glitters, it's gone. Some magpies have been found with full treasure collections hidden in their nests. Think of it as a pirate, if pirates were 2 feet tall and screamed at mirrors. Fun fact, magpies are one of the few non-mammals that can recognize themselves in a mirror. That means self-awareness. They know they're fabulous, and now science confirms it. They're also problem solvers, social strategists, and memory masters. Basically, the brains of a crow, but with better hair. And let's not forget their personality. They're bold, curious, and endlessly dramatic. In Switzerland, you'll see them patrolling meadows, tail flicking like a pendulum, eyeing everything with a mix of suspicion and opportunity. They'll chase hawks, tease cats, and occasionally mock dogs, because fear clearly didn't make it into their DNA. Here's your mini debate. Are magpies thieves or just misunderstood collectors? Because sure, they'll steal your watch, but they might also be decorating their home. Interior design or larceny, it's a fine line. In folklore, 1 magpie means bad luck, 2 mean joy, and 3 mean a girl on the way. But honestly, if you see a group of them, it probably just means you dropped something shiny. So what do you think? Is the Eurasian magpie a symbol of curiosity? Or just the bird version of that one friend who borrows and never returns? Either way, it's proof that in bird world, a little mischief and a lot of sparkle never goes out of style. If the magpie is the flashy thief of Switzerland's forests, then the great tit is the stand-up comedian. Small body, big mouth, and even bigger personality. This little bird weighs less than an ounce, but walks around like it pays the rent on the entire forest. Bright yellow belly, black head, crisp white cheeks. It's dressed like it's ready for business, and the business is pure confidence. You've probably heard it before you've seen it. That sharp teacher call ringing across the alpine woods. Yeah, that's it bragging again. It's the kind of bird that could turn an empty branch into a stage. But don't let the size fool you. This bird is smart. Studies show great tits can solve puzzles, learn from each other, and even use tools to reach food. In some Swiss parks, they've figured out how to open milk bottle caps. So while humans were inventing the espresso machine, these guys were mastering burglary 101, and they're bold. They'll scold hawks, chase off squirrels, and still find time to argue with their reflection in a window. Honestly, it's like watching a tiny superhero who forgot he's 2 inches tall. Fun fact, the great tit has over 70 different calls, each with a distinct meaning. That's a bigger vocabulary than most group chats. Scientists say they can warn, flirt, call for help, and even gossip. Yes, bird gossip. It's real and it's loud. Here's your mini debate. Is the great tit brave or just too stubborn to realize it's snack-sized? Because this bird will stare down an owl like it's challenging it to a duel, then puff its feathers out like, yeah, didn't think so. But here's the truth. Without birds like this, Swiss forests would feel empty. They bring color, sound, and a kind of cheeky joy that makes the wild feel alive. So what do you think? Is the great tit a pint-sized genius or nature's class clown? Either way, it's proof that attitude weighs more than wingspan. And confidence? That's the real superpower. If the great tit is the loud comedian of the Alps, then the blue tit is the adorable little genius who steals the show. The kind of bird that looks like it should be in a children's book, but secretly runs the forest tech department. Just look at it. A burst of colors so perfect you'd swear nature was showing off. Sky blue cap, yellow belly, green back, and a tiny black eye mask. It's like a superhero in pastel. And here's the best part. It's not just cute, it's clever. Blue tits are problem solvers. They've been seen working together to open milk bottles, pecking through foil lids to reach the cream. A criminally adorable crime spree that started in Britain and spread across Europe faster than TikTok trends. Even Switzerland wasn't safe from the dairy heist. But their smarts go beyond snacks. They remember food locations, recognize individuals, and even change their songs to adapt to noisy cities. That's right. These tiny birds are customizing their playlists for better signal strength. If Wi-Fi could sing, it'd sound like a blue tit. They're also acrobats. You'll see them dangling upside down from branches, fluttering like tiny gymnasts as they pick off insects. Each movement is so fast, so precise, you start to wonder if gravity is just optional for them. Fun fact, blue tits coat the inside of their nests with aromatic plants like mint and lavender. Not just for decoration, it helps kill parasites and keeps chicks healthy. Interior design and pest control? Honestly, they're living better than most of us. And for something so small, they've got serious courage. They'll mob predators 10 times their size working together in fearless little squadrons. Imagine an army of sky blue marshmallows taking on a hawk. That's teamwork at its most ridiculous and admirable. So here's your mini debate. Are blue tits nature's cutest scientists or just caffeine-fueled chaos and feathers? Because watching them is equal parts awe and wow. Either way, they prove that brilliance doesn't need size, just color, curiosity, and the confidence to hang upside down while doing it. After all that bright acrobatics from the blue tit, let's slow down for a moment, because here comes a bird that doesn't need color or chaos to win hearts. The European robin is Switzerland's quiet superstar, small, round, and somehow always looking like it knows something profound. That red-orange chest is instantly recognizable. You could spot it in a snowstorm, a tiny ember glowing against the white. It hops around calmly, head tilted, like it's listening to your thoughts and quietly judging your life choices. And maybe that's why people love it. It feels personal. When a robin shows up in your garden, you don't just see it, you feel seen. Fun fact, in old European folklore, robins were considered messengers from lost loved ones, symbols of comfort, renewal, and home. Pretty deep stuff for a bird that spends half its time chasing worms. But don't let that angelic image fool you. These little guys can fight. Male robins are fiercely territorial. If another robin steps too close, it's instant war. Tiny wings, flying fury, full WWE energy. It's like Love Actually, but with more feathers and violence. And they sing. Oh, they really sing. That sweet fluting melody you hear even on the coldest alpine morning? That's the robin saying, "This is my yard." And also, aren't I adorable? They sing in winter, they sing at dawn, they even sing under streetlights at night. Who needs sleep when you're the soundtrack of Europe? Here's your mini debate. Is the European robin the symbol of peace, or just the world's most charming control freak? Because yes, it'll warm your heart, but it'll also stab another robin in the neck if it gets too close. Still, there's something magical about it. In Switzerland's crisp mountain air, its song floats like a memory, a reminder that even the smallest voices can feel like home. So what do you think? Is the robin your cozy little friend, or a deceptively cute tyrant with perfect pitch? Either way, it's proof that sometimes the softest songs hit the hardest. If the European robin is the heartfelt ballad of the forest, then the chaffinch is the catchy pop anthem that you can't get out of your head. Bright, cheerful, and always ready to perform, this little bird might just be Switzerland's most underrated superstar. You'll hear it before you see it. That upbeat, rolling song echoing through alpine valleys, like nature's version of good morning. Every phrase is fast, clear, and precise. A little trill, a pause, and then a bold finale, as if it just dropped a mic and flew off stage. Males especially love to sing, loudly, constantly, and often directly at their competition. It's not just music, it's marketing. Each song says, "I'm strong, I'm stylish, and my tree has great real estate." Visually, they're just as charming. Rusty red breast, blue-gray cap, crisp white bars on the wings. They look like they were painted for sunlight. You'll find them in forests, gardens, even city parks across Switzerland. Always somewhere high, performing for whoever's listening. Fun fact, every region has its own accent. Chaffinches in the Alps sound slightly different from those in the lowlands, and young males actually learn their songs from local adults. That means, yes, there are bird dialects. Imagine traveling across Switzerland and every valley sings a different tune. It's basically the world's cutest language barrier. And while males get the spotlight, females do the hard work, building nests so perfect they could win home decor awards. They're lined with moss, feathers, and even spider silk, making them elastic enough to expand as the chicks grow. Form and function, HGTV, take notes. Here's your mini debate. Is the chaffinch a talented artist, or just a show-off who can't stand silence? Because yes, it sings beautifully, but it also keeps going at 5 a.m. like a feathered alarm clock. Still, there's something contagious about that joy. Every note sounds like sunshine, and in the chill of the Swiss Alps, that matters more than you'd think. So what do you think? Is this bird the soul of spring, or just the forest's loudest morning person? Either way, it proves that sometimes the best way to own the world is simply to sing louder. After the cheerful chaos of the chaffinch, let's slow everything down. The water stills, the air quiets, and standing perfectly motionless at the lake's edge, there's the gray heron, Switzerland's calm, stoic fisherman in a world that never stops moving. This bird doesn't rush, it doesn't chase, it waits. Tall, elegant, cloaked in soft, ash-gray feathers, it stands like a statue sculpted from patience itself. Other birds flap, chatter, and fuss. The heron just is. Then, a flash. That long, dagger-like bill strikes like lightning. 1 second of movement, and dinner's over before the fish even realize there was a problem. Precision, grace, and zero wasted effort. It's basically a samurai in feathers. You'll see them along Switzerland's lakes and rivers. Geneva, Lucerne, the Rhine, always near still water, always looking like they're meditating on life's bigger questions. If mindfulness had wings, it would look like this. Fun fact, herons nest in colonies called heronries, usually high up in trees. From a distance, they look like a cluster of giant umbrellas in the branches. And when they all start croaking at once, let's just say, tranquility ends quickly. It's nature's version of peaceful neighborhood until everyone wakes up. They're opportunists too. Fish, frogs, insects, even the occasional mouse. If it moves, it's fair game, and they'll steal from each other when no one's watching. because even the calm ones have a bit of chaos under the surface. Here's your mini debate. Is the gray heron a symbol of peace, or just the world's chillest assassin? Because sure, it looks zen, but it kills more fish in a week than most anglers do all summer. Still, you can't help but admire it. It's the quiet type that doesn't compete or perform. It simply masters the moment. So what do you think? Is patience the heron's greatest strength, or its sneakiest weapon? Either way, it proves that sometimes doing nothing perfectly is an art form. If the gray heron is the calm, patient monk of Swiss waters, then the little egret is the ballerina. Elegant, dazzling, and absolutely aware that everyone's watching. Picture this: a cloud of white gliding over the blue lake, long black legs tiptoeing through shallow water, snowy plumes trailing behind like silk ribbons in slow motion. That's not just movement, that's choreography. And yes, she knows she looks good doing it. The little egret isn't big, barely half the heron's size, but it walks with more confidence than any bird twice its height. It doesn't stalk quietly like a hunter. It prances, lifting its feet high, fluttering its wings just enough to stir up fish hiding beneath the surface. That's right, it uses its own beauty as a fishing tool. Talk about multitasking. Fun fact, those fancy feathers once almost got this bird wiped off the map. In the 19th century, fashion designers went wild for its breeding plumes, called egrets. Women's hats in Europe were literally topped with egret feathers, until people realized they were driving the species toward extinction. Thankfully, sanity and conservation laws saved the day, and now egrets have the last laugh. Still strutting, still stunning, and still very much alive. You'll see them across Switzerland's lakes and wetlands, Lake Neuchâtel, the Rhine Delta, or even in flooded meadows. They're social too, often fishing side by side like a synchronized dance troupe. A literal egret ensemble. And when the sunlight hits those feathers, it's less wildlife documentary, more perfume commercial. Here's your mini debate. Is the little egret simply elegance in motion, or a shameless show-off who knows how good it looks? Because it's not just catching fish, it's performing for applause. Still, you can't help but root for it. It's the kind of bird that turns a quiet morning into a painting. Every step, every flick of the neck says, why just survive when you can do it beautifully? So what do you think? Is the little egret nature's true artist, or just proof that confidence really is contagious? If the little egret is the ballerina of Swiss lakes, then the common kingfisher is the flash of lightning that steals the whole show. Small, brilliant, and gone in a blink. It's the kind of bird that makes you doubt you really saw it at all. You'll catch just a glimpse, a streak of turquoise and orange cutting across the water like a living jewel. Then splash! It dives headfirst, disappears beneath the surface, and reemerges with a fish clamped tight in that dagger-shaped bill. All in less than 2 seconds. Meanwhile, you're still gasping. The kingfisher isn't big, about the size of your fist, but it's built like a precision machine. Short tail for control, broad head for balance, and eyes with built-in goggles that adjust refraction underwater. That's right, it literally sees differently when it dives. Nature didn't just make a hunter, it made a high-speed camera with feathers. Fun fact, kingfishers don't just dive at water, they dive through it. Their beak shape minimizes splash so perfectly that engineers have studied it to design quieter bullet trains in Japan. Let that sink in. A tiny bird-inspired human transportation technology. Talk about leveling up. And then there's that color. It's not pigment, it's light physics. Microscopic feather structures scatter light, turning ordinary brown into shimmering blue. So the kingfisher isn't painted blue, it creates blue from thin air. Basically, it's showing off with science. In Switzerland, you'll find them darting along rivers and lakes. Geneva, Zurich, Lucerne, perching low over the water, waiting for that one perfect moment. And when it strikes, it's over before your eyes can blink. Here's your mini debate. Is the common kingfisher nature's most efficient hunter, or just a tiny drama queen obsessed with style? Because sure, it hunts like a ninja, but it also insists on doing it in neon blue. Either way, it proves something simple. You don't need to be big to make a splash. You just need the guts to dive first. If the common kingfisher is the sparkling flash of Swiss rivers, then the great cormorant is the deep diver who doesn't care what anyone thinks. Dark, slick, and unapologetically fish-obsessed. This bird has the body of an athlete and the reputation of a thief. You'll spot it perched on a lakeside rock, wings stretched wide like it's doing yoga, staring into the distance as if contemplating its next bad decision. Locals used to call it the black fisherman because, well, it catches their fish, and it's good at it. Really good. Cormorants dive deep, up to 100 feet, and can stay underwater for over a minute. They swim using their feet, twisting and turning like underwater torpedoes, chasing fish with a focus that would shame professional athletes. When it surfaces, it's all business. Head up, eyes gleaming, dinner already secured. Fun fact, unlike most water birds, cormorants' feathers aren't fully waterproof. Sounds like a design flaw, right? Nope. That's how they sink faster, with less buoyancy. Then afterward, they spread their wings to dry. That dramatic Jesus pose you always see? It's part necessity, part theatrical flair. This bird could make drying off look like a religious experience. They've got range, too. You'll find them across Switzerland's lakes and rivers, often near herons and egrets, though they definitely have that coworker who eats everyone's lunch energy. In fact, fishermen once accused them of ruining entire fish stocks. Turns out the ecosystem needed them more than anyone realized. They're natural population balancers, cleaning up weak fish and keeping the waters healthy. So yeah, they're the bad guy and the hero, depending on who you ask. Here's your mini debate. Is the great cormorant a villain or just a misunderstood professional doing his job better than we do ours? Because sure, it looks moody and steals a few fish, but hey, at least it never litters. So what do you think? Saint or sinner? Either way, when you see those wings stretched over a Swiss lake, you'll realize, in bird world, even the dark ones shine. If the great cormorant is the moody loner of Switzerland's lakes, then the barn swallow is the cheerful traveler who never stops smiling, a bird that brings summer wherever it goes. You'll see them darting through the air above Swiss meadows and lakes, sleek blue backs glinting in the sun, forked tails cutting perfect lines across the sky. They don't just fly, they dance, fast, graceful, effortless. Watching them feels like watching joy in motion. The barn swallow is the definition of freedom. Every year it migrates thousands of miles from Africa to Switzerland and back again. A round trip longer than most people's vacations. No maps, no GPS, just instinct in the stars. And somehow it always finds its way home to the same barn beam or farmhouse eave. If loyalty had wings, it'd look like this. Fun fact, farmers have loved swallows for centuries. They eat hundreds of insects a day, so when you see one circling your field, that's not just pretty, it's pest control. No chemicals, no tech, just a tiny bird with an endless appetite. And here's where it gets kind of poetic. In many parts of Europe, the first swallow of spring was once a symbol of good luck, a promise that warmer days were coming. People even built little ledges under roofs just to encourage swallows to nest. Who needs weather apps when you've got bird-based optimism? But don't mistake that grace for fragility. These birds are fierce when they need to be. They'll dive bomb crows, sparrows, even humans if you mess with their nests. It's like, hey, we eat bugs for a living. We're not afraid of you. Here's your mini debate. Is the barn swallow the ultimate symbol of freedom or just a caffeine-fueled speed addict with commitment issues? Because sure, it travels the world, but it also can't sit still for more than 3 seconds. Still, when you see one slicing through the Swiss sky at sunset, it's hard not to feel lighter yourself. Some birds remind us of nature's power. This one reminds us to move. So what do you think? Is freedom about flying far or always finding your way back home? If the barn swallow is the dancer of the skies, then the northern lapwing is the acrobat of the fields. A bird that looks like it woke up one day and said, let's make gravity interesting. With its glossy green wings, white belly, and that punk-style crest on its head, The lapwing has more attitude than most rock bands. You'll spot it gliding low over Switzerland's farmlands and wetlands, wings flashing black and white like a living light show. And when it decides to perform, oh, you'll know. This bird doesn't just fly. It twists, flips, and dives through the air like it's auditioning for Cirque du Soleil. During mating season, the males go full stunt mode, rolling, flipping, calling out in strange electronic cries, all to impress one very patient female. It's wild, chaotic, and somehow completely beautiful. Fun fact, those swooping displays aren't just for show. They're also defense maneuvers. When predators approach the nest, lapwings pull off fake injury acts, flapping along the ground like, "Oh no, I'm hurt." Then, when the predator takes the bait, boom, they fly off laughing. It's the bird version of faking a sprained ankle to win an Oscar. And those nests, hidden perfectly in open grass. Sometimes you'll walk right by one and never know. The parents keep watch from a distance, always alert, always ready for a mid-air chase. There's no peace treaty in the meadows when lapwings are nesting. They're also surprisingly vocal. Their calls sound like alien chirps and whistles, as if they're trying to remix their own soundtrack mid-flight. Honestly, if birds had DJs, this would be one of them. Here's your mini debate. Is the northern lapwing a creative genius, or just a high-energy drama bird who never grew out of showing off? Because sure, those flips are impressive, but no one asked for an air show at 6 a.m. Still, you've got to respect it. In a world full of straight lines and quiet skies, the lapwing reminds us that nature loves a little chaos. So what do you think? Artist or trickster? Either way, it's proof that even the wildest stunts can have purpose. And sometimes survival just means stealing the spotlight. If the northern lapwing is the acrobat of Switzerland's fields, then the European bee-eater is the runway model of the skies. A walking, flying, buzz-killing rainbow with style and zero chill. Let's start with the look. Turquoise chest, golden crown, red wings, black eye stripe. It's like someone asked nature, "Can you make a bird that looks photoshopped?" And nature said, "Hold my nectar." You'll find them in the warmer lowlands of Switzerland, perched on fences, sandbanks, or power lines, always in small, noisy flocks that sound like a party you weren't invited to. And trust me, they know they look good. These birds fly like they're in slow motion, then suddenly break into loops and dives like aerial artists with perfect choreography. But here's the twist. For all that beauty, the bee-eater is a cold-blooded killer. It hunts bees, wasps, and hornets midair, catches them, smacks them against a branch to remove the stinger, and swallows them whole. That's right, Switzerland's prettiest bird has a body count. Who says killers can't be colorful? Fun fact, bee-eaters actually sunbathe after meals. Scientists think it helps them digest toxins from the insects. Imagine finishing lunch, then casually posing in sunlight like, "Yeah, I just ate a hornet." Feeling cute. They're also perfectionists when it comes to architecture. Each pair digs a long tunnel, sometimes over 6 feet deep, into sandy riverbanks to nest. That's a lot of work for two tiny birds. But when your chicks are born looking like tiny versions of Picasso paintings, you make the effort. Here's your mini debate. Is the European bee-eater nature's greatest artist, or its most stylish assassin? Because yes, it paints the sky with color, but it also turns bee hunting into performance art. Still, you can't help but adore it. Every swoop, every flash of turquoise feels like joy itself. Wild, reckless, unapologetic joy. So what do you think? If beauty can kill, does that make the bee-eater dangerous, or just perfectly designed? Either way, it's proof that in bird world, the deadliest things come dressed in rainbows. If the European bee-eater kills with beauty, then the red-backed shrike kills with, well, actual killing. Don't let that innocent face fool you. This tiny bird looks like a songbird, but thinks like a serial killer. It's small, cute, and perfectly dressed. Rosy back, gray head, black mask over the eyes. Like a villain from a spy movie who insists on looking good while plotting. You'll find it perched on fences and hedges across Switzerland's meadows. Calm, quiet, calculating. Because this bird doesn't just hunt, it collects. When it catches its prey, insects, mice, lizards, even other small birds, it doesn't eat them right away. It impales them on thorns, barbed wire, or sharp twigs, creating what scientists call a larder. Let's be honest, that's not storage. That's art. Some call it gruesome. Others call it genius. It's basically nature's smallest butcher, complete with trophies. Imagine walking into a forest and realizing the creepiest thing there isn't the owl. It's this adorable little fluff ball. Fun fact, the shrike's brain is wired for strategy. It memorizes the locations of its food caches, organizes prey by size, and even moves them if ants start stealing. That's not instinct. That's inventory management. Somewhere in another universe, this bird runs a logistics company. And here's the kicker. It sings. Beautifully. Soft, melodic, even romantic. So yeah, it serenades its victims before impaling them. Shakespeare would have been proud. Here's your mini debate. Is the red-backed shrike a monster hiding in plain sight, or just nature's misunderstood perfectionist? Because sure, it's brutal, but it's also brilliant at what it does. And in the wild, efficiency is elegance. Still, there's something weirdly admirable about it. This tiny bird doesn't rely on strength or size. It wins with intelligence, patience, and a touch of psycho flair. So what do you think? Is the red-backed shrike terrifying, or simply too honest about what survival really takes? Either way, it proves one thing: never trust the cute ones. After the dark comedy of the red-backed shrike, it's time to head into the forest, where the next star doesn't sing or soar, it drums. Meet the black woodpecker, the alpine drummer, the percussionist of the pines, and the bird that turns silence into rhythm. You'll hear it before you see it. A deep, echoing tat-tat-tat-tat-tat, rolling through Switzerland's mountains like someone knocking from inside a tree. And that's exactly what it's doing, announcing its territory, flirting, or sometimes just making noise because it can. With jet black feathers, red crown, and a voice like a wood mallet, it looks like it walks straight out of a rock concert. It's big too, the largest woodpecker in Europe, almost the size of a crow. When it lands on a trunk, you can feel the confidence. Like, yeah, I own this forest. Try me fun fact. Its skull is built like shockproof armor. Each peck hits with the force of a small hammer, yet it feels nothing. Spongy bone structure, extra muscles, and even a built-in seatbelt in its neck absorb every blow. Meanwhile, humans invented airbags. The woodpecker did it first. It carves out massive holes in trees, some big enough to fit an owl or squirrel. When it moves on, those cavities become homes for dozens of other species. So yeah, it's the noisiest neighbor, but also the most generous landlord in the forest. And you've got to love its personality. It's focused, solitary, but when it gets going, the forest moves. Even hikers stop, tilt their heads, and wonder if someone's building a cabin nearby. Here's your mini debate. Is the black woodpecker nature's builder, or just an artist who likes to hear his own work? Because sure, it's constructing homes, but also pounding out solos every morning like an over-caffeinated drummer. Still, one thing's certain. The rhythm of the Swiss woods wouldn't exist without it. In a world of singers, this bird keeps the beat. So what do you think? Is the black woodpecker a carpenter, a rock star, or both? Either way, when it drums, the whole forest listens. If the black woodpecker is the drummer of the Alps, then the great spotted woodpecker is the perfectionist percussionist. Smaller, flashier, and way more obsessed with getting every note right. You'll recognize it instantly. Black and white tuxedo plumage with a splash of red on the head or belly, like it dressed for a formal concert, but couldn't resist adding a little rock flair. This bird has style. You'll find it in nearly every Swiss forest, from alpine spruce to lakeside willows, hopping up and down tree trunks with the same focus as a carpenter, measuring twice and cutting once. Tap, tap, tap. Pause. Adjust angle. Tap, tap, tap. It's the Bob Ross of bird builders. Patient, precise, and probably humming to itself while it works. Fun fact, woodpeckers don't just drill for bugs, they use sound as communication. Each individual has its own rhythm, like a signature beat, a drum name if you will. When another woodpecker hears it, they know exactly who's knocking. So yes, these birds invented personalized ringtones centuries before we did. They're also serious about nest design. The great spotted woodpecker can take up to 3 weeks to hollow out the perfect cavity, smooth walls, round entrance, and just deep enough for comfort. Then when it moves out, other species like nuthatches and owls move in. It's the ultimate eco-friendly construction project. But don't let that charm fool you. It's got attitude. If another bird tries to claim its tree, this little craftsman turns into a chainsaw with wings. It'll hammer, shout, and chase intruders like an angry landlord who just found out you haven't paid rent. Here's your mini debate. Is the great spotted woodpecker the forest's meticulous builder, or just an obsessive workaholic who needs to chill? Because sure, it keeps ecosystems alive, but also insists on starting renovations at sunrise. Still, you can't deny the rhythm. Each tap echoes through the Swiss pines like a heartbeat. Steady, focused, alive. So what do you think? Is this bird the Alps' greatest craftsman, or just a tiny perfectionist with a hammer problem? Either way, it reminds us, if you're going to make noise, make it art. After the tireless hammering of the woodpecker, the forest quiets again. And in that calm, a shadow glides overhead. Gray cloak, black hood, eyes sharp as midnight. Enter the hooded crow, the thinker, the schemer, the philosopher of the Swiss skies. Crows don't just live in Switzerland, they run parts of it. You'll see them in mountain valleys, city parks, farm fields, anywhere there's food or opportunity. They're adaptable, curious, and, let's be honest, probably smarter than half the tourists taking selfies. The hooded crow is sleek and stylish. Black wings, gray body, and that ever-present look of judgment. It always seems to know something you don't, and it probably does. Scientists have tested their intelligence. They solve puzzles, use tools, even recognize human faces. Yes, this bird will remember you, so maybe be polite next time you drop crumbs. Fun fact, crows hold funerals. When one dies, others gather around, staying silent, observing. Researchers believe they're analyzing what happened, learning from danger. That's not instinct, that's awareness. You can't watch that and not feel something ancient looking back. But don't think it's all dark and brooding. Crows have a wicked sense of humor. They'll drop nuts on roads so cars can crack them open, then swoop in to steal the goods when the light turns red. They'll mimic other birds, play tricks, and once in a while, just mess with humans for fun. It's intelligence with attitude. Here's your mini debate. Is the hooded crow the wisest bird of the Alps, or just the cleverest troublemaker? Because yes, it's brilliant, but it also spends its mornings pranking foxes and stealing dog food. Still, you can't deny the presence. Every flap of those wings feels deliberate, thoughtful, like it's writing poetry with the air itself. So what do you think? Is the hooded crow a genius philosopher in feathers, or a con artist with a PhD in mischief? Either way, it proves that wisdom and wit often wear the same black cloak. After the dark wisdom of the hooded crow, Switzerland's skies need a splash of color. And here comes the European goldfinch, fluttering in like a tiny painter with wings dipped in sunlight. Scarlet face, golden wing bars, white cheeks, black crown. It looks like someone took every bright color on a palette and said, "Yep, all of them." On one bird, the result? Pure joy. If happiness had feathers, it'd look like this. You'll find goldfinches perched on thistles, swaying gently in the mountain breeze, chattering away in sweet, twinkling voices. They don't just sing, they glisten. Their song is like champagne bubbles, light, fizzy, impossible to stay sad while listening. Fun fact, their love for thistle seeds is legendary. In medieval Europe, people believed the bird's red face came from wiping Christ's blood during the crucifixion. Heavy myth for such a cheerful creature. But it shows how deeply humans have always adored them. In Switzerland, seeing a flock of goldfinches, a charm, as it's called, is still considered good luck. And honestly, it feels true. These birds also have a sense of community. They feed and fly in flocks, their songs overlapping into a joyful chaos that sounds like spring itself. No hierarchy, no drama, just constant conversation, like a cheerful group chat that never ends. But don't mistake kindness for weakness. When food's scarce, goldfinches can get feisty, wings flaring, beaks flashing, arguing over seeds like retirees over a chessboard in Zurich. Still, they never lose that sense of charm. Here's your mini debate. Is the European goldfinch a symbol of peace and beauty, or just the world's prettiest chatterbox? Because sure, it sings beautifully, but it never stops. Still, you can't deny what it brings. Color, light, joy. A little art in motion, painting the gray of the Alps with gold every time it passes. So what do you think? Is the goldfinch the artist of bird world, or the happiest noisemaker in Europe? Either way, it proves one thing. Beauty isn't quiet, it sings. And now one for the grand finale. The bird so striking, so unapologetically weird, that it could walk into any Swiss meadow and instantly own the place. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the Eurasian hoopoe, the crown showstopper of the Alps. Let's be honest, this bird looks like it was designed by committee. Cinnamon orange body, black and white zebra wings, and that wild crown of feathers that pops up like, ta-da! You're welcome it's not flying, it's making an entrance. You'll find it in warm valleys and open farmlands, probing the soil with that long, curved bill, searching for beetles and grubs while looking like royalty on a lunch break. And when it calls, that unmistakable hoopoe, hoopoe, hoopoe. It sounds less like a song and more like a medieval trumpet announcing its arrival. Fun fact, the hoopoe's name actually comes from that sound. Upupa, straight from Latin, which was probably the ancient world's version of onomatopoeia. This bird literally named itself. Confidence level unmatched. It's also got a few quirks. When threatened, the hoopoe raises its crest, spreads its wings, and hisses while spraying a foul-smelling liquid. Basically, it goes from supermodel to skunk ninja in half a second, and somehow still looks amazing doing it. Culturally, it's a big deal too. Mentioned in the Bible, praised in Persian poetry, and honored as a sacred messenger in ancient Egypt, this bird has more celebrity status than half of Hollywood. Here's your mini debate. Is the Eurasian hoopoe the fashion icon of bird world, or just the world's most dramatic exterminator? Because sure, it looks like royalty, but it spends its day digging up bugs and smelling questionable. Still, no other bird closes a show like this one. It's bold, it's loud, it's unforgettable. The kind of creature that turns every meadow into a red carpet. So what do you think? Is the hoopoe Switzerland's most beautiful bird, or just the weirdest one wearing a crown? Either way, it proves one thing. In nature, weird always wins. And there you have it. 25 wings, colors, songs, and stories from the heart of the Alps. From the haunting silence of the eagle owl to the golden laughter of the goldfinch and the crowned chaos of the hoopoe. Switzerland isn't just a postcard of mountains and chocolate. It's a living orchestra, and every bird plays a note. Some of them made us laugh, some made us think, and a few, like that little shrike, made us double-check the bushes. But that's the beauty of bird world. Every feather tells a truth. Every song has a secret. In these skies, patience meets precision, grace meets grit, and beauty comes in every shape from gentle to downright weird. And maybe that's why we love them. Because somewhere between the rhythm of the woodpecker and the whisper of the heron, we see a reflection of ourselves. So what about you? Which bird of Switzerland stole your heart? The boldest, the strangest, or the one that made you laugh out loud? Drop it in the comments below. And remember, in bird world, every wing has a story, and this one just took flight.